Hey folks, welcome back and welcome to this mix breakdown of the final song on the new Cult of the Lamb Hymns of the Unholy EP, Death. This song is featuring Matthew K. Heafy on vocals, Sean Long on guitars and Mike Mallion on drums. Let's do it. So if you saw the previous breakdown of the first track from the EP Cult featuring Howard Jones, Scott Lepage and Mike Mallion, then you'll have seen me go through most of the elements in these mixes. So all of the drums, bass and kind of synth and all that sort of stuff. So if you haven't seen those things, then they're all linked in various places. Let's just give you a quick refresher of the drum sounds that we're working with. As a quick reminder, this is my mix session. So this is my mix that I then exported and mastered. All I've added is to stick back on my limiter to bring it up to a kind of level of loudness that's more in line with what we expect. But let's check out Mike's drum sounds first of all. So really meaty snare, big explosive reverb in that section. Similarly in that kind of big drop it, big aggressive outro section, really big expansive reverb. Nice ghost notes and stuff coming through there. If you want to go and check out the full breakdown where I go through every channel and all of the processing individually one at a time, then it's linked up there somewhere. You can go and check that out. Similarly, I've already been through bass tones, but let's just give you a little flavor of that here. So nice, aggressive, kind of clacky bass sound that really locks in nicely with those drums. Synths and keys and stuff, they're all in there. What I really want to get into in this video is looking through all of Sean's guitars and showing you all of the different layers and different parts that he's given me, because they're worth drawing attention to. There's some beautiful stuff. And then getting into Matt's vocals as well and kind of playing you all the different layers in there. So let's look at all these guitars here. I've got loads and loads of channels. He sent me, I can't remember how many channels it was, but maybe 30, 40 different channels of stuff that I then kind of worked down to what I've ended up using. So a lot of content, right? Let's play you through kind of bits of everything. You'll see that I'm doing very, very little processing on individual channels. So these guitars from the intro, for example, I'm just EQing, just shaping ever so slightly, high pass, low pass, dipping some kind of 2.5K. And then most of my processing is happening on my actual guitar bus. Let's hear these intro guitars. So let's hear those dry as he sent them to me. So you can hear clearly it's a double track guitar, so different takes going left and right here. I EQ'd those first of all. So high pass to get rid of some of that kind of real muddy, gunky stuff. And then I'm dynamic EQing this area here where the palm mutes are. So just to try and start controlling those palm mutes. Then I believe I'm doing some more focused multi-band compression, again, just to get a hold of those palm mutes a bit more. So you can see that band here at 145 Hertz, just working on those palm mutes. This Gojira X amp sim from Neural DSP, I'm actually only using for the effect sounds on it. I really like the effects. You can see that the amp and the cab and the EQ are all off. So I think I'm just using it for like the delay and the reverb, and then the pitch shift when I use it at some other point. And then I'm going into an LA3A for some compression, probably not much. So only tickling on this guitar, perhaps it's a little bit more on some of the other guitar lines. Fuser, this is taking a side chain from the bass bus, the bass guitar bus. So to make a bit of space for the bass guitar, in fact, it doesn't come until later on, so it's not going to affect this guitar at all. So we'll look at it later on. And then I've got a Pro Q3, so shaping those guitars further with similar stuff. So this dynamic band here is really important. And then finally, that's going to a Slate Digital VMR, using some Need EQ, boosting some low end around 400-ish and trimming. So you hear how that's really sort of starting to shape the sound a lot. So that's a really cool line. We follow that up with, as we get into the first kind of drop, we get this rhythm bus that comes in. So I've got 4 channels here. I've got part 1 and part 2, if you like, and they are, I think, different amp sounds. Let's check out just rhythm 1 first of all. And then 2. So actually pretty similar amp sounds, but just stacking them to give a bit of thickness. I've automated that little bump in there. So I'm automating an EQ move on this channel EQ. Let's see that in action in the equalizer. So automating that high pass filter in that little gap to give us that little fizzy bump in the space. If we hear that in context. So that works kind of nicely. So let's hear that guitar with the intro guitar. Cool. So on this rhythm bus itself, again, I'm just shaping with EQ. So let's hear just these rhythm guitars before I use this Pro Q3. So loads of high-end fizzy stuff that I didn't want in there, so I'm shaping that. Plenty more mid-range to kind of give it more thickness. Okay, a little bit later, we get these chugs coming in. And I assume that they're working in coordination with these rhythm guitars here. So that will be a great moment to hear that fuser in cooperation with the bass guitar. So let's bring the bass guitar in and let's find that fuser channel here. Let's take it out. So you hear how this is just making a little pocket to allow the bass guitar to come through a little bit more in that low end, around 150 hertz there. Okay, then we drop into the big kind of hooky chorus section, if you like. More rhythm guitars. So big, sounds big. And then after that, we're into this next section and we've just got these octave guitars. Let's hear those dry as he sent them to me. So I'm using CLA from Waves here. I really like this on guitars, and I'm obviously getting a lot of extra level out of this and also chunking it up quite a bit. More rhythm guitars coming later on. Then a little bit later. So it's worth isolating what these different guitar lines are doing at that point, because there's a nice kind of conversation exchange going on. So much more kind of fizzy, and then the chug is putting in some of the low end with that. Emphasizing those hits. Which works really well with the bass guitar that's hitting those as well. And then a little bit later in this outro section, we're getting some more of these centered chubby bits going. And right at the end, so, you know, lots of different layers of rhythm stuff, but that's all, you know, fairly normal stuff, if you like. Lots of Sean's magic is happening in these lead guitar layers. if you know Sean's playing, you know that he's really creative with his effects and with his pedals and stuff. And all these layers and stuff that we've got here are going to demonstrate that. So let's hear this intro first of all. So he sent me these two kind of feedback layers. I'm using some panning and effects to get those two things moving around. If I show you what those two are doing here, this is a Waves plugin. And we hear that with the rhythm guitar. So it's giving you this kind of siren swirling around your head type thing going on. Let's have a little look at the signal chain. What have I got going on my lead guitar bus? Okay, so on that actual bus, I'm basically just EQing, just low passing. Let's just hear that low pass in and out. Yeah, just rolling top end. Then we've got these cool little, I've called them pings, that are coming at this point here. Absolutely love them. Let's put them in with just the rhythm guitars to give us some context. Put a little tape stop effect on there. Let's solo those out because they're quite subtle at this point, but texturally they make a difference. So I'm using an effect on there. Let me remind myself what it is. Is it this one? I think it's Transit from Baby Audio. So lots of automation, moving it from left to right, adjusting the overall transition control on this Transit plugin from Baby Audio. But it's not a prominent thing, you know, in the mix, it's fairly subtle. I didn't want it to be too distracting. So if we just hear that. You know, it's in there, it's cool, but it's not kind of too in your face, which I like. Okay, then we get to the big chorusy section, and we've got these two guitar parts. That lead guitar line there is absolutely monstrous. So let's just hear how that sounded when it first came to me, because I processed this a fair amount. So here it is, dry, if you like. So shaped it. I've then, I believe, used some pitch shift on it. wanted to make it fatter and richer so that it could be more fundamental to that passage. So that's this octave pedal here. Then some CLA guitar. So mostly getting the reverb and delay from that effect there, but then I'm going into some more reverb. So let's put that in the context with the groove. You know, and if I was just mixing that as an instrumental, I'd make that guitar part much more forward. But, you know, when you get all the vocals in there as well, you can't have the vocals being right in your face and that cool hook. So it had to take more of a back seat. But it's there and it's a great, great line. I love it. Then we've got this lead part later. So much more of a melodic thing, you know, long legato notes, sounds great. Then before the outro, we've got some more of these pings going on. So exactly the same style of thing that we had earlier on, but, you know, different rates of automation. And then this great little swell guitar, which I believe must have, yeah, a bunch of automation on this EQ. Taking us into that drop. And then in the drop, a couple of cool guitar lines later on. So this kind of tremolo part, if you like, and then same style of feedback guitar that we had right at the very beginning. So we get this nice kind of cyclical feel in the guitar as the idea from the start comes back at the end. If we hear that with the bass and rhythm. One extra thing that I did layer there at that point, I didn't want that guitar to just disappear completely, but I didn't want it to stay at that kind of position of forwardness. So I actually then rewrote it, but on a synth to come afterwards. Which in the context you can barely hear, but it just carries over, just slightly reinforces that part as it goes across that structural change. See if you can identify that as it moves across. It is there. And then right at the end, some more feedback. So some amazing lines there from Sean. But then he also gave me some great kind of synth bass parts and a couple of extra little percussion-y bits as well. So let's take a listen to those. So this part in here, just after the intro. So you see there, I actually haven't used any bass guitar at that moment because it kind of got too cluttered with bass guitar in there as well. And then after that, he gives me this kind of D&B, I've called it, but really reminds me of like Rob Zombie, Pitch Shifter, that kind of stuff. Love it. Same kind of synth bass a little bit later. So in the big chorusy hook bit, but this time I have got the bass guitar with it. So good. Then another D&B style bass. Sounds great. And then some really good lines in this transition section before the outro. So we've got another D&B bit here and here, synth bass, and also this cool break beat that he's given me. And again at the end. You know, his ideas here, they just add so much hype and energy. So super, super cool job by Sean. Just want to show you as well, in case you can't pick them up too clearly in the mix, because there's so much going on. Obviously, I've highlighted some of these timpani here, but there are these awesome taiko drums as well that come in later on. So hard to find space for those in the mix, but and then again a bit later. You know, they're a bit buried, they're a bit subtle, but they're there. Okay, let's get on to looking at Matt's vocals, because there are some awesome layers here. So let's look at the different layers that we've got first of all. Let's start with the talk bus, I've called it. So here, first of all.
Come closer, fear not, for though you are already dead, I still...
So you hear I've got one in mono in the center, and then another one that I'm spreading left and right. So I've got this kind of conversation with those two lines.
Come closer, fear not, for though you are already dead, I still have need for you.
And for our interest, let's hear how they sounded dry before I processed them.
Come closer, fear not, for though you are already dead, I still have need for you. Come closer, fear not, for though you are already dead, I still have need for you.
So, quick run through the signal chain. EQ, quite a lot of it, shaping the sound the way that I want it. VMR, Neve EQ, 1176, compression, DS, LA2A style compression. So serial compression, and then further compression with this gain reduction deluxe from JST, from Joey Sturgis Tones. And then this delay plugin on the one that's going out wide left and right to give me that wide spread. Going into a bus where they are EQ'd together, and then some further compression with JST Bus Glue, the vocals model. Fresh Air from Slate for some high end. CLA Epic for effects, using a lot of effects to give that kind of spacey effect, trimming, de-essing again, and some further EQ. So a lot of different things to shape the sound to where I want it.
Come closer, fear not, for though...
Sound great. And also in that talk bus later on, I've got some audio directly from the video game of some of the characters, which are super cool. So let's take all the effects off that I put on those. So there's already some processing on there. You can already hear a kind of a reverse reverb sound in the actual stem, but then I've gone, you know, heavy on effects on these. Timeless 3 from FabFilter with some crazy delays going into the further effects on the bus. And then a further one later on. So those are all the kind of talk channels, if you like. Let's get into Matt's actual sung vocals. So the very top, the beginning, let's hear it.
I am the one who calls to you, an inescapable fact that's true.
So big effects, big delay. I've got a main channel and a double track, so two versions of exactly the same thing. And then I've got an octave of it. Left and right, which I believe is a low octave in this instance, and then another octave that comes later on.
I am the one who calls to you, an inescapable fact that's true. You will encounter.
Let's play those vocals dry, just so you can hear exactly what it was that I was working with from scratch.
I am the one who calls to you, An inescapable fact that's true. You will encounter me, so do exactly what I tell you to.
And then we get this high octave that comes in when it drops.
I'm the one who calls to you. An inescapable fact that's true. You will.
That is then also layered with these screams that come in below it, which sounds so good.
I'm the one who calls to you. An inescapable fact that's true. You will encounter me, so do exactly what I tell you.
So, 8 layers of Matt's vocals going on, but they're all doing different things. Lead vocal with a double track, low octave, high octave, and screams, all to kind of stack this sound and make it really kind of full. Then we've got this super cool part later on.
Uncaring and calculating, and treacherous as evidenced by my willingness to kill my own siblings and the lamb that faithfully served me. I see the
Really low, really growly, love it. But then the one of the highlights of this song, this big kind of drop, this big hook chorus, if you like, and we've got again lead vocal, double track, harmonies left and right, low octave, high octave, and it's so full.
I am the one who calls to you, and inescapable fact that's true. You will encounter me, so do exactly what I tell you to. I am the one who calls to you.
And then I'm pretty sure I did some crazy stuff on this transition just to freak it out a bit into the next section.
Exactly what I tell you to.
Yeah, so just kind of completely destroyed it with distortion. Then we go into this next section, and I wasn't quite sure how to balance this to begin with. We played around with a lot of different options, but in the end, we've got this vocal hook that kind of creeps in, that works in coordination with those character parts. So let's hear those together. In fact, let's just let you hear these vocals. Let's take off this tantra first of all.
Heed my word. Heed my word.
So they're creeping in with automation, the level, the EQ, but then I've got this tantra plugin.
Heed my word. Heed my word.
Super cool, really cool effect. And with those character parts. So they build and build to this final one where it's all full, all sung, and there's all 7 or 8 different, 6 different layers. Then we get into the screams and the meaty stuff. So 4 layers of what Matt calls his Ibaraki style screams. And they sound like this. Sound pretty cool. Let's play you those dry so you can hear them from the off. And you can see, you know, similar processing. So EQ, VMR, more compression, de-essing. And then on the bus where they're all combined together, I'm doing some bit crushing. And then on the bus where they're all combined together, this bit crusher is doing quite a lot of work. So some downsampling, a lot of drive, changing the resolution as well, which gives them part of that kind of really crunchy, distorted thing, which sounds great. And they come back later here. And then maybe my favorite bit on the whole record is these Trivium screams that come at the end. And there are so many cool little bits in here, like Matt's almost kind of rapping sections, some pitch shifted screams, some kind of call and response. So I'm just going to play this through. I'll give you some drums and bass to contextualize, and then the vocals. So I start having some fun with some effects in that moment there.
Yes, we gave it all. I gave it all.
And playing around with different pitches as well. So with this additional pitch shifted scream, some kind of really low, growly, devilish stuff, and then some higher stuff as well. Just, you know, to play around with some different textures, really.
Yeah! I am the one who colored you and is capable of control. God, life. You will give up me some time exactly what the fuck until you die. God, life. I am the one who colored you and is capable of control. God, life. You will give up me some time exactly what the fuck until you die.
So some amazing, amazing performances, some great lines, some great creativity from both Matt and from Sean in this track. I hope you've enjoyed this whirlwind tour through this project. As I say, the EP is out now. You can go and listen to it on all of your favorite places. You can grab it on vinyl, etc. I hope you love it. I'll see you again very soon for another video.